Well, Anne Stratford was a successful career woman, but at the age of 41, she started a new chapter in her life. Following her lifelong dream of becoming an author, Anne set out on that journey, and today has published an award-winning book called My Daddy is a Soldier. Anne joins us now. Hello.
Hi there. How are you this afternoon? Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, we're just so happy to have you with us. We've got the book right here in front of us on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Just have to ask you off the bat. I mean, I know it's got to take a lot of guts to leave a career like the one you had in sales.
Yes.
What was that final push that set you out into writing this book?
I wish I knew. I think it was just a sense in my own life that, you know what, this chapter is closed and it's time to move on. And it was a really scary leap of faith, but at the same time, I think that I just kind of had this feeling internally like this is the time to move. And it just turned out for the best. It was the best decision I've ever made. It's been scary, like I said, but it's just been a terrific adventure.
So why a children's book?
I love children's books. I don't have any children myself, but I have lots of nephews and nieces. And I remember as a kid, my mom used to read to us all the time, and it was just such a huge part of our upbringing that I think I've carried that with me into adulthood. And I think there are so many life lessons that can be taught through children's books. And I think that's why I decided to write one, especially in lieu of the topic and trying to help, the kids and the nephews and nieces in my own family.
Well, Anne, I have a question.
Yes?
Is it a little bit tougher maybe to get this type of subject matter across in a children's book format? I mean, it's not necessarily see-spot run.
You're right. I mean, that's a great question. It was so difficult. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I wrote the story in about 35 minutes one night, and it was difficult over time because we had to talk about something that was such a personal subject. You had to be really careful. I had people come up to me and say, well, this is, what the military is doing isn't right, or this is all about politics. And I kept thinking, you know what? No, it isn't. This is really a book to give kids hope and about having them have that sense of self-empowerment. And so it was a challenge in that regard. You had to be very careful about how we worded things. So it did take some extra time to get those points across in a way that was, manageable for everyone.
Yeah, and I love the central theme of the book. You can do it.
Oh, thank you.
I love that.
It's so funny now when I hear you say that, because I hear people say it so much, and I think it because, it's obviously in my book, but I think it's such a relevant theme, especially in lieu of everything that's going on in the world today. It's just all of us really need to hear that message that we can do it, that I can do it. Like I said, because there just seems to be, so much to be a challenge in what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
Now, with this book, is there a very personal connection to you that kind of pushed you to write on this subject? Is something?
Yes, absolutely. I wrote the story around my own nephew and nieces. My brother, Justin, SSC Justin T. Stratford, has been in the Army Reserves for about 20 years. And a couple of years ago, he was deployed to Fort Jackson for about 17 months. And his kids at the time, I think their ages were like 7, 5, and 2. And they were really having a difficult time. As you all know, deployment is just difficult on families in general. But I think especially when kids are younger, it's just not something that they understand. They don't really have a frame of reference for time. So what I wanted to do was write something that would let my nephews and nieces know that, yes, this is something that's going to be difficult to do, but you can totally do this. And we were at the launch party for My Daddy is a Soldier. I saw my nephew, who's the main character in the book, Dominic, kind of came up to me. It was a little bit choked up, and I said, "What's going on, buddy?" And he said, "Nothing. It's just that someone finally understands how I feel." And I've gotten letters from parents and kids, just making the same kind of comments that, this is exactly how I feel. So it was a very personal connection to me in terms of my own family, but to know that theme and that message is relevant to other military families and it helps other military kids cope, it just makes it even more personal to me. So it's really been great.
Well, I cannot believe it only took you 35 minutes to write this book.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I guess, was it just something you were always thinking and you just sat down and you were just totally in the groove and it came out, or what?
I think so. I think it was just one of those things I was thinking about. I wanted to write a series of books for kids on things that are hard to do. They have all the typical stuff like riding a bike and dealing with bullies. And I thought, something that I know in my own family that I've seen that's hard to do is watch kids deal with deployment. And since it was, like I said, a prevalent theme rather in my own family, I decided to write that. And I also had a little bit more experience because when my brother Justin was deployed for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, we were all in our 20s, and I can still remember being at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base when he came home and how exciting it was for all of us. But also I can remember very vividly the faces of these kids and just all the yelling and the screaming and the excitement and dads meeting their kids for the first time. So I think it was just such a natural thing. I mean, I wrote it in 35 minutes. I think it's just because I'd been exposed to it and I just really knew what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the key issues that you see kids having when they have a parent who's deployed?
I think the key thing that I think is that they miss that sense of connection. Does someone really understand? I mean, I think that parents do a great job of working with kids in terms of explaining, the schematics of this is how it's going to work, this is when mom or dad's going to be away, this is when they're going to come back. But I think that they still deal with the deployment on a very personal, a very private level. And I think sometimes that's, to me, one of the biggest issues that often gets overlooked is that the kids are dealing with, is that connection there? How do I stay connected to this? How do I know that I'm still important? And that's what I saw in my own family, that it was such a big deal for them to make sure that regardless of whether it was a birthday or a holiday or something special in our own family, that everybody was connected. And to me, that really is the biggest issue, that they just need to make sure that, hey, mom or dad's still there. Somebody really understands how I feel.
One thing I also really liked about the book is the illustration. I think it's really well done.
Thank you.
Who did the illustrations for this book?
The illustrations were actually done by an artist. Her name is Steph LeBaris, and she is located out in Berkeley, California. And we kind of found her in a very unusual way. My sister works in a creative field and was out on business out in California at a show out there, and just happened to see her, saw her art, and thought, you know what, my sister would really like this. And so she sent me some pictures online, and I loved it. And then we kind of worked together to actually hone down to get this style for the book, and she just did a phenomenal job. She really did a great job. We get compliments on the art quite a bit, so that makes me feel really good. We picked the right person.
Well, it's true. It really brings the story to life, and kind of it's got a familiarity to it, but it also it's not overly cartoonish.
Thank you.
So what's next, Anne?
What's next is I have a series of books for girls that I'm working on, and hopefully going to publish a second book this year. That will be for young boys, probably ages, maybe 3 to 7, 4 to 7. So, and I'm also working with someone else on a project that they have. It's a children's book also, and we are currently in the process of looking for an artist for that project. So, lots going on, but this was the first project out there, so we're really proud of it.
And where can people pick up My Daddy is a Soldier?
They can actually just go right online to mydaddyIsAsoldier.us. And you'll get a link right on there. It'll take you, right into where you need to go, and you have a couple options to pick which book you want. So it's really simple.
So will the rest of the series, for the boys and the girls, will that all be military themed as well, or are you just going to branch out into general topics?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm actually going to be branching out into some different topics. I've had questions about, are you going to write a book? My mommy is a soldier, and we've definitely talked about that and kind of workshopped it a little bit. But the books that I was referencing before about for the boys and for the series of books for girls, those are books that, like you said, are branching out into other areas. So stay tuned.
Now, can people find you on Facebook, or do you guys have a Twitter feed or anything like that?
Absolutely. You can find us on Facebook. You just type in My Daddy's a Soldier book, and it'll come right up. You'll see a cover of the book, the little boy standing next to his dad. And you can also, find some additional information about the book on the website at mydaddyIsAsoldier.us.
Awesome. Well, Anne, thank you so much. I know we are really looking forward to seeing your next books that are going to come out. Stay in touch, please.
We definitely will. Thank you so much for having me today. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Once again, that web address is mydaddyIsAsoldier.us. You're going to love this book. It's just such an easy read, and it's a good, bedtime storybook. Will likes it read to him as well sometimes.
I don't often use the word cute in a serious way, but the book's cute. It's a cute book. It really is. It's pretty heartwarming, and like I said, the illustrations are great, and it pulls off the job really well.
Yep.